I'm Jabba Thomas, co-founder of Race Equality Matters, along with the fantastic Raj Tulsiani of Green Park, who's also chair of Race Equality Matters. With me today is Donna Robertson, who's the Race Equality Matters project manager, and also behind the scene are members of the Race Equality Matters team who are in the background to support you all in this event. Next slide, please. We also have with us today two expert speakers from NCVO, who are a Race Equality Matters Trailblazer. We've got Lynette Lucas and Rupinder Dhaliwal, and we'll introduce them and explain what they're going to be doing a bit later on. Thank you. Next slide, please. Before we start, a bit of housekeeping, and we do acknowledge, and we are looking to make our events more successful, accessible. So closed captioning has been enabled in the main session. And in the link, we recommend a captioning solution for the virtual breakout rooms if you need it. So you'll find that in the chat. This event is being recorded, except the breakout sessions. So you'll be able to access the content and what's been said later, along with the slides next week. Your sound will be auto-disabled, so we don't disturb each other. So please do share ideas and thoughts and questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond as we can. For those that use certain tools and resources, the chat will be extremely busy following each virtual breakout session. So a heads up, you might need to switch off if using accessible tools, because I understand the constant pinging can affect some, can be distracting. Please do tweet and post social media content during and after the event so we can reach more people and more organizations to grow the impact we're trying to make. Next slide, please. Today's session will be a fantastic how to run a tea break workshop with a chance to collaborate with each other and ask the experts some questions. There will be polls. Donna will go through the 11 steps, which you can see in the side. And don't worry, you get all this after, and it's in the guide. This includes why these steps were identified and why it's important to get them right. There will be collaborative discussions, groups, and top tips shared. As I said, you'll hear from Lynette and Rupinder from NCVO, who are tea break expert speakers today, to share their experience before, during running a tea break and post it. And finally, if we have time, we'll squeeze in some Q&As towards the end, and we'll finish at 1:45 p.m. Next slide. As you may hopefully know, but also for new people here today, Race Equality Matters focus on providing you with the tools, resources, and skills to make an impact. We create concepts and solutions in collaboration with those with lived experience of racial inequality and our community of change makers. And I see some of you are here today. We also shine a light on other solutions that make an impact. So just briefly to introduce you to our solutions, Race Equality Week, which was in February, and you can see the date there for your diary, the 5th of February 2024. So you've had enough notice to get ready for that. We've got Safe Space, a model that runs in a protected environment to enable brave conversations, uncomfortable discussions, and more importantly, is action focused. So we've got a workshop on that later in the year as well. Then we've got the Big Promise, which is all about turning words into action. We've got My Name Is, which is all about the importance of getting people's names correctly and using phonetic spellings and asking the question, how should I correctly pronounce your name? Pure courtesy and respect. And we've got tea break. That's the reason we are all here today. Next slide. Hopefully most of you will know about the 5-day challenge, a solution we launched for Race Equality Week in 2023. Includes a series of open questions, videos, and resources to encourage change. And as you can see there, it talked about getting people's names right, the difference between not being racist and anti-racist. Again, difference between banter and microaggressions. 71% feedback think the 5-day challenge will have an impact on race inequality in their organization, and 75% think the 5-day challenge will help people commit to tackling race inequality. So it's a real accelerator. Organizations are still implementing in it, so and it's still available if your organization wanted to run it. Next slide. We do provide all these solutions, how to get it right, guides, and today's workshop for free to individuals. So there's no blockage or barriers for you to access this. But all this would not be possible without support of our key partners. So a huge thank you to key partners Green Park and Lloyd's of London, who also power Race Equality Week and fund Race Equality Matters. Also, along with lifetime visionary partner BT, the Collaboratory, and partners Auto Trader, HS2, Edelman, and Network Rail. We are a not-for-profit and do need further funding to keep going and create more solutions and provide more support. So if your organization would like to get involved as a sponsor, marketing or donation, please do get in touch. 24/7, 365 days a year, my phone's open. Okay, thank you for that. Next slide. What we're going to do is a quick poll, State of the Nation, and we will share these results with you after the event, so you can get a sense of, who's in the room today and where we are in our journeys. Thank you. As we can see here, got a good mix of attendees, 57% as allies and 42% ethnically diverse or appropriate equivalent. So thank you all for that. As you see in question 2, again, a good mix of roles. So 35% are D&I professionals, 13% HR, 17% senior leaders, and we got 11% race network members, 16% race network leads, and 25% others, which is again great. So we've got a good mix of organization roles here. Question 3. Interesting, 79% of you have not downloaded the workbook yet, so we fully encourage you to do it. And as we go through the event, you'll get to see how the workbook, how to do it right, guide will help you through this. Good to see 4% here have run a tea break, and 9% of you have downloaded the workbook and read it. Question 4. Has your organization implemented any of the following Race Equality Matters solutions? So 43% of you participated in Race Equality Week and 33% the 5-day challenge. And then we've got 20% have done My Name Is, 11% the Big Promise, and 11% Safe Space. 26% of you have not done any of the solutions yet, so hopefully, or we hopefully assume that you might be new to Race Equality Matters, and in the next few months you'd look to implement at least one of the solutions, and hopefully tea break. Question 5. How well do you think your organization tackles race inequality? Only 4% really well, and 28% fairly well. 67% a little, not enough, or not at all. So that's 2/3 here saying a little, not enough, or not at all. So we still have a long way to go. Question 6. Do you feel your senior leaders and managers are committed to tackling race inequality? 45% saying yes, so half of you here today, yes. And then another 44%, a little but not enough. Sad to see 9% of you think they're not committed at all, which equates to 1 in 10 of us here today. Question 7. In your organization, who do you think is playing a key part in tackling race inequality? So 61% highlight ethnically diverse colleagues, 56% D&I function, and 35% HR. When it comes to leaders and managers, it's 39% and 18% respectively. So the managers are still a challenge for many organizations. And 50% say allies are playing a key part. Which leads us nicely to our next question. In your organization, of your colleagues who are not ethnically diverse, approximately what percentage are tackling race inequality? So as you can see here, 43% believe that less than 10% of colleagues are making an impact in tackling race inequality. And then a further 31% believe less than a quarter are. So in total, 74% believe less than a quarter of colleagues who are not ethnically diverse are tackling race inequality. And there's 4% here that believe 75 to 100% of your colleagues are. So again, this is why we need to make it everyone's business. Question 9. Do you feel your colleagues and managers are comfortable talking about race? Not at all or not really is 40%, a little bit 47%. And then it's 10% feel comfortable or very comfortable. And we believe the tea break will really help with this. And then question 10, have you noticed much change within your organisation in tackling race inequality during the last 12 months? A fair amount or a great deal is 24%. which leaves 76% saying little, not enough, or not at all. And not enough and not at all is 30%. So 1 in 3 here feel there's been very little change. It looks like we're getting all stuck again. Anyway, hopefully after today's session, Tea Break will clearly show you or provide you with some tools and resources to take back to your organization to help us shift the dial more significantly. Thank you again. Okay, so next slide, please. So what is the tea break? So if we just share a short video, actually, which will give you a good overview.
The tea break provides the framework and opportunity for an organisation to hear the honest voice and feelings of its colleagues about race inequality. All employees are invited to join a 1-hour themed online discussion about an issue that matters. Individuals can remain anonymous, listen to others, or actively participate. It's freedom of choice. Benefits of the tea break include fosters inclusion, supports well-being, highlights issues for action, removes the barriers and the fear of talking about race, normalizes conversations on race, and builds understanding of the issues. You can also join the Race Equality Matters Tea Break community. We've set up a peer support network on Guild. Guild is a community app for professionals. It provides private, secure spaces for collaborative discussion. Guild is already helping over 20,000 people have conversations that matter. We also have a tea break guide, co-created by those with lived experiences of race inequality. This guide consists of 4 phases and 11 steps. This guide outlines the practical steps you can follow to set up and run a tea break.
access to the video that you've just seen, and also we'll be recording the whole of today's event will be available to people afterwards. We hope it's given a good overview. And just important to say, Tea Break was created in collaboration with Network Rail and their Cultural Fusion Race Network and Mental Health First Aid England, and we'll explain about keeping psychological safety. The best way to get started with Tea Break is by downloading and reading the How to Do It Right guide. I think the link's been put in the chat, but we'll also send it post the event if you haven't had it yet. We know it's making an impact. So since we launched Tea Break, over 600 unique downloads from more than 500 different organizations, and collectively there are over 1 million employees. Over 78% of participants believe it will help tackle race inequality in their organizations. Next slide. And it has been transformational for many organizations. So here's a quote from Carol Elderfield from Race Equality Matter Bronze Trailblazers AME PLC. The Tea Break is just what we needed. I believe that if it had existed previously, then many organizations would have made significantly more progress in their efforts to tackle race inequality. So again, please do go through today's session and do think about it to accelerate change. Next slide, please. The How to Do It Right guide is primarily for the Tea Break project leader facilitator, which many of you here today may be. It was created to provide a step-by-step support. It's based on research and workshops that Race Equality Matters and the Collaboratory ran. As mentioned, it was created in partnership with Network Rail's Cultural Fusion Network, Mental Health First Aid England, and those with lived experience, and it's been tried and tested. Importantly, it is a guide. So feel free to adapt the steps as you need and see fit, regarding your own organization's culture and makeup. There are two mandatory elements in it, though. One is having a facilitator, and you'll find more about that in the guide, and Donna will talk about. And then the need to keep colleagues safe during and post the tea break, which for some, it can be extremely uncomfortable and emotional discussions depending on the subject matter. Again, we will discuss that. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, the guide is to support you. It will tell you why each step is necessary, and you'll find key pointers and actions to deliver each step. So Louise Chandler was one of the first to deliver the tea break. In fact, she delivered it when it was just a draft version, but he gave her the confidence to do it at Oxford County Council, and they are now a Race Equality Matters tea break trailblazer. And she said the guide gave her the confidence to do it. So she could do it with the draft, and she was one of the co-creators. Then, we can all do it. Next slide, please. You'll see there are green boxes highlighting ideas to consider, and also checklists to sum up key actions for each step. So it's a really kind of how to do it right guide in more ways than one. Next slide. You'll find it's in two parts. The first part will tell you about the origins and the case for tea break, why organizations should look to use it. It also highlights 8 key but simple steps that address why projects and initiatives fail. It's based on psychologist Dr. John Cotter's of Harvard's 8 Steps for Leading Change, which has been designed for us by consultancy firm Nexus. If we can have next slide, please. So the 8 steps are here. And again, there's more details behind each of these steps in the guide. But, many of us have done initiatives to tackle inequality and it's not quite worked out. But if you look at these 8 steps and the information behind it, if you address this, then you will make a big difference. And I looked at it, the projects I've succeeded in, I've maybe done these 8 steps, and the ones that I haven't succeeded in, maybe I haven't covered all in steps. Next slide, please. So before we move on to the guide, and which Donna will start going through the key steps, delighted to introduce you to Lynette Lucas and Rupinder Dhaliwal, co-chairs of NCVO's Staff Reach Network. NCVO is the National Council for Voluntary Organizations, is the membership community for charities, voluntary organizations and community groups in England. Can we have a spotlight on them, please, Sam? Thank you. Lynette is a member, subscriptions and inclusion officer. Part of her role includes researching NCVO's membership, representation of global majority communities, challenging how NCVO can work with members to identify issues and policies that present barriers to them. And Rupinder is a senior digital content producer and has a keen interest in digital accessibility and inclusion in a day-to-day role. Areas of equality she's interested in focus is on the practical and tangible steps to advocate and create positive change for the rights of people of colour and women. So we're thrilled to have both of them here today and delighted to be able to spotlight NCVO, who are Bronze Trailblazers for Race Equality Matters. So well, very warm welcome to you both. Thank you. If you can unmute yourselves, please. So the first question is to Lynette, actually. Lynette, why did NCVO decide to run tea break?
Hi everyone. So it felt when we came across the tea break guidance, it just felt like the right time for us to take that step and start having these conversations. We were going through a period of change, a period of reflection, and it felt like the right initiative to help us on our journey to be like a racially equitable and equal organisation, and allow for conversations that colleagues can have to share their life experiences of global majority staff in a way that may not have been done before, and we felt was a reflective way of how NCVO would like to move forward. So that's why we implemented it.
Thank you. I think that's, from a lot of other organizations we've spoken with, that's a good catalyst for introducing it. So thank you for sharing that. And also, what impact has it had so far?
I feel a positive impact. The feedback that we get from staff has been really impressive and mind-blowing in some ways. Staff have kind of shared that they feel like when we have the tea break sessions now, they're one of the most important sessions that they will make time for so that they can attend, because they get so much from them. Not only do they learn a lot, but they feel like they can relate more to their colleagues, and it also helps them in their personal lives as well. So we've had some staff that have shared that, you know, it's helped them to have these conversations within their families and their friendship groups that they may not necessarily have felt very comfortable having before, because they wouldn't know how to start those conversations, whereas the tea breaks have kind of provided them with those starting blocks to be able to kind of be in a position and say, oh, we had this conversation at work today and it got me thinking, or it's a door opener, it's an eye opener. And that's what people have taken from it, which has been really good.
Brilliant, thank you. I think it's great you say that, you know, how people are making time for it. So, and I guess, you know, our observation is that's how you do it right. You know, people want more of it, and making the time becomes a priority. And I think that's why we've created a guide, because we know some other organizations have these conversations, but they don't work out quite well. And people don't want to attend them, and they become quite distressing and upsetting. So thank you for that. So we'll hear more from Lynette and Rupinder later. So over to Donna, who will take you through the first set of steps 1 to 3 in the How to Do It Right guide. And then I say we'll come back to our expert speakers on how they went about these steps. And then there'll be opportunity for you all to collaborate in a breakout session. Thank you.
Thank you, Javed. So good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. As Javed said, I'm here to take you through the 11 steps outlined in the second part of the tea break How to Do It Right guide. It's only a top line walkthrough. If you download the guide, it will take you through each step in a lot more detail. Could we have the next slide, please? Fabulous, thanks. So we're going to start our journey at phase 1, and the first step is all about making tea breaks safe. You need to assure the psychological safety and well-being of the participants. Talking about race inequality requires honesty, openness, and courage. As a result, participants might feel vulnerable and concerned about negative repercussions in terms of their career and their mental health, or how they might be judged or perceived. It's therefore crucial that you consider the psychological safety of the individuals you're engaging with. We recommend that you create a meaningful psychological safety statement signed by the senior leaders, as this endorsement will encourage people to be honest. Also, give thought to meeting rules and behaviours. So use the Chatham House rule, which means participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity or the affiliation of the speaker or any other participants may be revealed. We also recommend that you don't record tea break unless you have a very good reason to do so. And during the session, empower participants to call time out if it gets too much, provide support, and signpost them to supportive resources. We also advise that you could conduct well-being checks before, during, and after the tea break. It can be really emotional for people who are sharing their feelings and experiences, and it can be emotional for those people who are hearing the honest views as well. So it's psychological safety is a big part of tea break. Next slide. So when you've done that, the next phase is all about finding the right people to champion, drive, and deliver the tea break. So step 2 is about identifying your tea break lead, someone who will spearhead the initiative and support it from start to finish. Look for someone that's going to bring energy, focus, and continuity to the initiative, someone with passion, people skills, resourcefulness, and persistence. Brief them on tea break so they've got the right information to understand the scope of the role and get their agreement to be the lead, and then ask them what else they might need support-wise. So next slide, please. So at step 3, it's all about gaining senior endorsement. And research has found that having senior endorsement is the driver for success when it comes to diversity and inclusion. Their endorsement and involvement signals to the rest of the organisation that any issues raised will be taken seriously. We recommend you meet with senior leaders to explain what the tea break is, its benefits, and why leadership involvement is critical. Highlight their role in establishing the psychological safety statement and safety of the participants, and explain what they can do to support the initiative and engage with line managers. If you get their commitment to support employees' involvement, they will empower colleagues to attend the tea break. Next slide, please. So when you've covered steps 1 to 3, it's time for step 4, which is about creating a working group. This group will run the initiative from start to finish, from identifying tea break themes to promoting tea break, right through to running and evaluating the tea breaks. As Tea Break is a pan-organisation initiative, we recommend that you create a diverse group with a broad range of skills and choose an effective chairperson. So I'm now going to hand back to Javed, and we'll cover the next steps shortly. Thank you.
I've got to learn to press that button. Thank you. And Nicola will be answering your question about certain topics later in this session. Okay, so if we could take the slides down and put spotlight on Rupinder, please. So looking at, Donna talked about, and it's really crucial, one of the most common questions you ask, how do we look after people's safety, which is integral to tea break. So how did you go about doing that?
Hi everyone, thanks for the question, Javed. So I think it's really important to make sure that people feel comfortable in the space, and setting the scene is really important to do that. So mentioning confidentiality and explicitly saying that this is a safe space where there's a kind of a contract for people that are sharing stuff in the room, the fact that that stays in the room. And I think mentioning things in the beginning of the tea break about being mindful and respectful of other people's thoughts and experiences, particularly if they're sharing their own experiences as well, and approaching topics sensitively, making sure that staff members are encouraged to be thoughtful and reflective in the space, and that if someone disagrees with a point or doesn't quite understand a point, they're encouraged to ask questions and be curious rather than kind of coming from a place of judgment. I think things like that are really important to emphasize, and as well as a facilitator, taking care to kind of support people in that space and kind of checking in and seeing how everyone's doing, and yeah, taking on that role. I think those are a couple of things that I would say are quite important.
Fantastic. And obviously they did it right because people are coming back. And what we do say, the sessions can get emotional for some people, but we do need these uncomfortable conversations. I think it's just doing it in the right way, which Rupinder touched upon. Donna also mentioned about the importance of finding the right people. So how did you engage and find the right people to support you to deliver tea break, and what were the different roles people took on?
Yeah, so I think knowing the right people to engage is a really important first step, and then talking about the importance of tea breaks and how people coming together to talk about these issues is really, really important. Sharing that is really important as a first step. I think it was really important for us to engage the REACH network as an initial step, to speak to them first and make sure it was something that we all agreed on doing and that we wanted to do it, and that it was a good idea for the organisation to start it off at that point. And then since then, members of the REACH network have been taking turns to lead or co-lead the sessions themselves, and also thinking about what kind of topics we want to explore. I also think engaging the people and culture team at NCVO was particularly important when it started. And one of the people that we had was the head of people and culture at the time, co-lead the first tea break, which was, I think, really important to kind of set the scene and set the space that we were trying to set up. And as well as that, engaging the leadership team to attend and share thoughts and be included in these conversations to show that it's not just the kind of staff networks and people kind of experiencing these issues are the ones that are talking, but there's buy-in. So yeah, a few different stakeholders that we wanted to involve, and yeah, lots of conversations about how to do that well.
Fantastic. And I think it's absolutely crucial you get more than one person. You know, we've heard some organizations where one person takes a role and responsibility for everything. It's too much. And actually it doesn't, I think if people cared about the issue as well, you'd have more people involved in it. And as you said, different people taking on different roles and changing keeps it fresh and energized. So yeah, thank you for that. And again, we'll have more from Rupinder and Lynette later on. So now's your chance, you being the audience, to give you all the opportunity to collaborate amongst yourselves and share ideas in a breakout discussion group. If you're not comfortable to go into a breakout group, that's fine. Just stay out on the outside, because we appreciate for some people it might not be as suitable. And I said in the link there'll be a thing to help you with the chat on captions. So the question we want to ask yourselves to go in the group is, how will you go about engaging the right people? So we touched upon it. So how will you go about engaging the right people? So that would include senior management, your project lead, and also a working group. So in your organization, I know I've seen one organization 40 here, one with 10,000 plus. So how would you go about that? So in a minute, you would also make place into great breakout groups. Sam, I'd say if we create 15 groups, that'd be great. And you'll have about 7 minutes to discuss with each other. This is just to start you thinking about it. There are no wrong suggestions for this. Unfortunately, we won't have time for feedback, so please take your own notes, and maybe we suggest valuable time isn't taken up introducing yourselves, and if just one person can be a sort of like a stand-in chair, just to make sure everyone, as I say, you got about 7 minutes just to share how you go about it. And I appreciate some of you may not may be learning and have maybe less to contribute than others on this question, but there'll be another breakout session later. So we can put people in the room, and we'll give a 1-minute warning just to let you know when time's running out. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome back. I had a very interesting group. I think we were having like breakfast break. We had someone based in America and also someone based in Belgium. So very doesn't have to be tea. Can I just say it doesn't have to be tea? That really interesting group. So thank you for that. What might be helpful? What we'd like to do is take a group photo. So if you don't want to be on a photo, please do hide your screen. We appreciate that. But what the team will do, Anna will do, is take a few group shots. So smile, grimace, frown, hide your face. Put the other mask on if you got that. But yeah, only be in it if you want to be. But it enables us to show you know, people that are interested, you know, to create the movement and keep it going. So if we can do that, I see some friendly faces there. Kelvin, hi, Kerry. Anna, can you just say when you're done? That'd be great. I'm going to try and see if any of you can multitask, and I apologize for this. Whilst you're smiling at the camera and looking your best, if you would just want to throw into the chat any points with regard to how to get other key people involved. So how would you go about it? So just put 1 or 2 bullets. Don't worry about spelling and everything. We'll share this with everyone later, and we'll anonymize it. So, you know, it'll just be a list of these are some ideas. And, you know, I think in my group, there's someone with like a very small organization and someone with over 20,000 people in their organization. So yeah, if you just share your tips, because we're all about collaboration, and then we'll gather this, and then in a couple of weeks' time, we'll share this with yourselves, okay? You'll get out what you put in, as they say. So thank you for that. Are we okay? And if you're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, so I've got some images.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, lovely. So thank you for that. So basically what I'm going to do is hand you back to Donna, who will go through steps 5 and 6. So back to you, Donna. Thank you. You're on mute if you're talking, Donna.
Thanks, Javid. Could I have my slide, please? Perfect. Thank you. Thanks so much. So we're now in phase 3 and we're at step 5 and we're ready to prepare and go live. And this step is all about shaping the structure. So one of the biggest benefits of Tea Break is that it enables regular and consistent discussion of race equality issues. The frequency and the format will develop will vary depending on your organization. So we recommend that you liaise with colleagues when scheduling, just to ensure that everyone has a good opportunity to attend, and also that you schedule the tea break as part of the working day to encourage attendance and reinforce your organisation's commitment to race equality. Also use a variety of formats just to keep your tea breaks fresh and interesting. So for example, you might want to invite a speaker, you might want to showcase a video, have a panel, potentially start with 2 hosts talking about a chosen theme. So just sort of keeping it fresh. Next slide. So now we've determined the frequency and the format of tea break. Step 6 is when we start to identify themes. Each tea break will focus on a particular theme, as this provides focus for your discussion and enables deeper and more meaningful conversations. We recommend that you look inside the organisation for themes. So for example, brainstorm ideas with colleagues, analyse staff survey findings, or run polls with colleagues, but also look outside as well. So for example, monitor media or focus on key D&I dates such as Black History Month or Race Equality Week. And then keep a note of the themes that have been discussed and which are the most popular, because that will help you plan future tea breaks. Back to you, Javid.
Right. Thank you, Donna. If we can have Lynette and Rupinder back on, that'd be great. Thank you. So Lynette, Donna mentioned the frequency of tea break sessions, and we asked that quite a lot. How often should we run them? And it depends on the organization. So how did you go about making that decision?
For us, we decided to run a poll to see what the frequency would be that would be comfortable for staff, because we work hybrid and we are very aware that, you know, people's capacities and diary availability can vary. So we ended up with the general consensus that the tea breaks would be run quarterly and they would be an hour per session.
Fantastic. And we also know that because of staff working different shifts, different roles, some organizations change times of them as well. And again, because people have got different responsibilities at home as well to make it possible. So thank you for that. And also, how did you decide what themes you'll cover? Which ones have been the most popular?
So initially, our very first one was kind of a year on from when we started our work of being a racially equitable organisation. So the first session we did was an internal kind of reflective session about where everybody felt we were in our journey and what we needed to do, things that were going well, things that we could improve on. And then from there, it's amalgamated. So it's a mixture of awareness days, it can be things that are happening within society, can be topics, and then we have a living, breathing document that everybody has access to, so people can actually put suggestions of topics that they would like to cover, and that's how we kind of decide what's going to happen in each session. So whoever's chairing, if you have a specific topic that you're passionate about, then you can have that as the topic, or if you would like to see what everybody else would like to discuss, then you've got that living, breathing document. And we also do cross tea breaks as well. So we have other affinity networks, if you like. And so depending on kind of what's happening, we may do joint tea breaks that are very topic specific, where 2 networks come together. So you'll have somebody from the REACH network and maybe somebody from the mental health network running a session in tandem, that kind of shows the cross-sectionality of our society as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. I know it's a hot topic everyone wants to talk about. If we could have the next slide, please. The themes are current and relevant, as Lynette said, you know, going on in the news or in the world at the moment will open up, you know, great chance to conversation, you know, it's how we can learn different people's perspectives. So what we're going to give you all a chance is enable a mass collaboration in the chat. So to keep things moving, we'll give you sort of like 30 to 40 seconds to just write in the chat potential themes and ideas that you think would be good discussions for a tea break. Again, what we'll do is we'll collect these. So there might be 30, there might be 130, and we'll share them with you after. So you'll have a nice menu. And again, like Lynette was touching upon, you could share these with your colleagues to find out which ones would be of most interest. So if we can come up with some ideas together, because I know a lot of you were asking about it, that'd be great. I can see microaggressions, mentoring and sponsorship, spotting and tackling migration, brilliant topic, Sophia. Loads coming through now, which is brilliant. So I said we will collect these, share them anonymously with everyone in a few weeks' time. So thank you for doing that. Okay, while that's coming up, if we could show the next slide, please. So here's some topics that have come up before, and I said we will share. Do take a screenshot, but we will share the slideshow with everyone after, and you get access to the video. So again, here's some common ones that people were talking about from previous events. Okay, I'm now going to hand you back to Donna for the remaining 11 steps. And again, we'll then hear from Lynette and Rupinder, but also a chance for a Q&A later. So over to Donna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Javid. So you've explored your themes, you've shaped your tea break, and so we move on to step 7 of preparing to go live. Promotion. This is all about promotion, and promotion is key. You'll need to let colleagues know about your tea break and encourage them to attend. So think about the information that they need to know when deciding to attend, and safety is one of those things. Use the range of internal channels to ensure the majority of colleagues have an opportunity to see and digest the information, and think about ongoing communications to ensure colleagues are aware of which tea breaks are coming up and when, and also what's happened as a result of previous tea break discussions as well. Next slide, please. Step 8 is all about preparation, so you get the most from your tea break session. So to ensure that it runs smoothly, there are a few things to prepare and think about in advance. And one of them is finding the right facilitator. You're going to need someone who can manage behavior and maintain focus on the chosen theme. They must ensure that the tea break is constructive, safe and fair. We also recommend that you appoint a chat manager, someone who can monitor the chat, answer the questions, show in the moment appreciation and support the facilitator as well. Prepare questions, materials, and run a technical test in advance. Next slide, please. So at step 9, you're at the point of running your tea break. So when you come to this during the session, set the tone, put participants at ease, and set the ground rules as well. And we recommend that you deal with questions as they arise or as soon as possible afterwards. And again, can't reiterate this enough, but remind participants of available support. And you'll find a list of organisations in the guide that may be useful. So we're now on step 10 of the journey. Thank you. And you will have run your first tea break, and it's hopefully gone well. You've had lots of engagement, and there are some post-event essentials here. So after tea break, it's essential to follow up with colleagues, ensure action is taken where relevant, and assess what went well and what needs improvement for next time. Again, but the first priority is to support colleagues' well-being, remind them again of the support that's available to them. You might also want to check in personally with some individuals. And again, if the organisation takes action as a consequence of the tea break discussions, share that information with colleagues as well. And then review the tea break, have a debrief to capture best practice and lessons learned. And the next slide, we're at the end of our tea break journey. At step 11, it's time to monitor progress. So it's really important to understand the overall impact that the initiative is having on colleagues and the organisation as a whole. This will enable continuous improvement and also provides evidence of progress. So do review your tea breaks to identify trends, understand what works well and what needs improvement. And again, you know, when the organisation has committed to take action, keep track of what action is to be taken, the deadlines and the progress, and keep people updated. So, and then survey colleagues to gauge the impact that tea break is having on them as well. And then finally, next slide, when you've done it, please do share your experiences with us, Race Equality Matters, and help inspire others. We need more change makers like Lynette and Rupinder, and more trailblazing organisations like NCVO. So back to you, Javid. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. And back to our expert speakers, and then a couple of bits, and then there's be a chance for Q&A, and one more breakout session to support you all. So Lynette, Donna mentioned promotion is key. How do you promote tea breaks?
We do this in a few ways. So our people and culture team have actually included information about the tea breaks in our induction packs, so that right from the beginning of somebody's journey, they know that this is something that happens at NCVO on a regular basis. They're also set up as recurring meetings in staff calendars. And when new people start the organisation, they're then forwarded on to those individuals. And there is a caveat in those emails that say that although that date and time is held, they are subject to be moved to allow for more people to be able to attend at different times. So although the hold is there, it's not like set in stone. We're very flexible about moving it about. We also, prior to each tea break, we try to do it about a week in advance. Doesn't always work. I'm sure everyone can appreciate that. And we will post and start promoting them about a week beforehand by posting information about the upcoming tea break on Teams and also through emails as well, so that as much attention and awareness is raised that they're happening and what the topic's going to be, who's going to be running them. And we also allow for anonymous questions to be submitted through the Reach Network inbox, so that if people don't feel comfortable raising questions about certain topics, you know what it is beforehand. And if you know you have a question you don't necessarily want to ask in person, you have the ability to submit it through the inbox and then it will be answered that way. I think was the other question, what's been the most popular one so far, Jared?
Yeah, or a theme, yeah, that really grabbed people. Yeah.
So what's the two sessions that come to mind? One was on colorism and the other was on the nuance of identity and code switching. Those sessions were really well received. There was a lot of conversation afterwards and follow-ups as well. So those ones were really, really interesting and really successful.
Okay, thank you. I think what's really interesting, that you said at the beginning, is when people new joiners, they're told about it, shows you the commitment and the priority organization put into this. So it's get people only at the beginning, and then it becomes normal culture. So thank you for sharing that. Rupinder, there are two must-haves that we say for tea break. One is safe environment and the other one is facilitator. I see some questions on facilitator. Do you need to be an expert facilitator? What tips would you give someone looking to do this for the first time?
Yeah, so I don't think you need to be an expert facilitator to run these sessions. If you're thinking of running one, I think if you approach it mindfully and if you feel able to in your organization, it's kind of just the initial barrier that kind of the idea of having challenging conversations can prevent you. But I think once you're over that and you've done it once, that really fades quite quickly. And some top tips I would give, I guess, are not to worry about being super prepared with what you're going to come out with, because it kind of creates that flexibility of conversation. And the idea is that it is just a tea break, so it is just an informal chat. So I think that helps the conversation kind of play out that way. I also think being comfortable with silence is really important, because I think when people are thinking about these things, they're not kind of easy conversations to have. And especially in the virtual space, it feels a bit jarring if there's silence sometimes. So I think making sure to try and feel more comfortable with that, I think, is another important thing I'd say. And also if you have allies and other members of your network attending the tea break, just having them there and having them like there in support, potentially asking questions, that can really help to feel comfortable. And yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And we know quite a few organizations sometimes have co-facilitators, so sharing the work and having a slightly different role within it. But thank you for doing that. I think that silence and letting people sort of breathe is quite an important thing. So fantastic. So final question to you both. So we've got a community here keen to go forward. What top tips would you give it when running tea break? A couple of tips each, if that's okay. Thank you.
Sure. One of the things that I was thinking about is just that point around being comfortable, doing what you need to do to feel comfortable in the space, particularly if you're the one who's chairing or co-chairing, like making sure that you're doing what you need to do. So having your camera off to start with, having someone else introduce the topic in the beginning if you want help to do for someone else to do that, and just kind of making sure that you're taking care of yourself and how you like run the space and kind of taking ownership of that. And I think you doing that allows other people to feel like they can do that too. So I think it's about creating that environment. And yeah, that's one of the important things I'd say.
Lynette.
I think one of the things that I would say is learn who your allies are to help you in these, to help you with the tea breaks, and be prepared that once you kind of start tea breaks, they're going to come from unexpected places that you wouldn't necessarily think. So be open to that. And once you know who they are, start having those regular conversations and communications with them, because they're really important in making sure that the work that you're doing moves forward from unexpected places. And I think that that's a really important thing to kind of be aware of and look out for.
Brilliant, thank you. And this is fantastic for allies to learn and hear things, and it does move them along. So thank you for that. What we're going to do now is give you a chance to go to a final breakout with yourselves. Now you've got the dream team. There's two of them in front of you, and then you know the hot topics to talk about, but it's all about how do you get people to attend the tea break. So what we'd like you to do is go into breakout. So how would you maximize participation from across your organization? And again, this is beyond your race or reach network. You know, this is trying to get as many people involved as possible. So we'll give you about 7 minutes. And again, there's no wrong suggestions. Go in for a chat, and then yeah, we'll see you in 7 minutes. So please go into your group. Again, if you don't feel comfortable going to a breakout session, please do stay out. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thank you. I was in a group, and Lysandra, who mentioned she always gets the 1 minute warning when she starts talking. So, but she did make a really good point about embedding it in organisations in the culture. And I think, I think an organisation knows it's doing well with this when it's embedded. Thank you for sharing that. A really interesting chat. What we'll just give everyone 30 seconds just to throw in the chat. Their thoughts of how to maximize participation. Again, we will collect this and share it after. So, you know, by the end of this, we will do 3 big chat collaborations that you will all get some really good notes from each other. And I know senior leadership team and CEO were mentioned in our room. So whilst doing that, before we go into a Q&A, which will include Rupinder and Lynette, we'd just like to briefly update you what's in the pipeline for Race Equality Matters. The first, next slide, please. So the first thing is, can we have the next slide, about Trailblazers. We're coming to the end of this stage, but Trailblazers is all about organizations that are making a difference, whether it's one of our solutions or something else that you've done yourselves. We want to showcase what is making a difference so you all can learn, or we all can learn from each other. Next slide, please. So you'll get what we call these virtual medals and recognition, and organizations have noticed by getting Trailblazers that it's improving morale in organizations, better staff representation from different communities applying for work, and also at higher levels. So it does make a difference. So please do look at that. Next slide, please. So here's some of the Trailblazers, and you can see NCVO are on there. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Thank you. So our upcoming events, we've got Get Ready for Race Equality Week 2024, so there's no excuses, but we'll also be sharing the highlights and feedback, what worked and what made a difference for some organizations. So that's in May, and then we've got a How to Do It Right workshop for Safe Space, so we've got a big announcement for that as well. So there'll be a teaser for that. So that's in June. So Safe Space and Tea Break do go kind of hand in hand. Some do one first and then the other, and then others do this tea break and then go on to Safe Space. So do look out for that. Next, thank you. New opportunity. There's a next slide, please. Race Equality Matters Jobs Board. So here's some organizations on that. So it's to help you reach a wider, more diverse community. So it's fantastic organizations are using that, and it does help fund some of our work. So it's a charitable support as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so if we could just do a poll, then we go into the Q&A. So and again, we will share these answers with you after. So if we could release the poll, please, Sam. Would you recommend today's event to others? 91% saying yes, which is fantastic. Those that are not sure, we'd love to hear from you to find out how we can make it better for you or more suitable. Question 2, in comparison to other diversity and inclusion initiatives, how effective would you rate Tea Break in tackling race inequality? It's great to see 77% of you here today think more or significantly more effective, and then 22% saying the same. So again, it proves it's a really good tool to help us create the change we want to see and indeed feel. Question 3, how helpful was it to hear from our Trailblazers, Lynette and Rupinder from NCVO? And again, it's 100% saying good, very good, or excellent, with it being 77% saying very good and excellent. Question 4, how helpful was the group discussion? 72% felt it was good, very good, or excellent. So it's great that so many of you found it really helpful. Question 5, do you think tea break will help tackle race inequality in your organisation? 74% believe yes, saying it'll be a catalyst for change, it will help a great deal or significantly. So that's fantastic, 74%. And not a single person believes it won't help at all. Question 6. How confident are you now in being able to implement tea break? Great to see 28% of you confident or very confident, and 48% fairly confident. We notice 20% a little, but would like more support, and we'll see how we can help with that. But overall, it's 97% feel that you could implement the tea break, which is fantastic. And so thank you very much to Donna and Lynette and Rupinder for helping bring to life how to run a tea break. Question 7. When do you think you would look to run tea break? Fantastic, 21% in the next couple of months, and a further 18% before October, and then a further 24% during Black History Month. And we see some other times later in the year, 27% have said you will, but not sure when, and only 6% unlikely to run it. Again, we'd love to hear from you whether we can help more, or you but just believe your organisation may not be ready for it yet, which we can appreciate, disappointing as it is. Question 8. How easy do you think it will be to get your senior leaders on board with tea break? And we know that is a key element for it to happen. Great to see that fairly easy, easy or very easy is 67%. So that's 2/3 of you believe it'll be really possible. 19% with difficulty, which is very sad to hear. Do you think, this is question 9, tea break will facilitate uncomfortable but necessary conversations about race inequality? A fantastic 84% saying yes, and then 15% say not sure. So only 1% of you thinks it will not facilitate uncomfortable but necessary conversations. And that's why Cultural Fusion and Network Rail and our community have built this together. So it's fantastic to see such a positive result. And finally, question 10, letting us know which topics may be of interest. And as you can see, it's 47% finding out more about Trailblazers, which NCVO were one. 21% applying to be a Trailblazer. A fair percentage of you interested in finding out more about the jobs board, and a fantastic 62% would be interested in attending a live tea break event, which is something we'll look into, especially if we can get a sponsor. So we'll run a tea break for future tea break project managers in organisations, so you can experience what it's like. So thank you all for completing this, and yeah, we'll be in touch. And we'll be sharing the video of today's session, which includes the interview with NCVO, to help you and your organisation take it forward. If you could just start putting your questions in the chat, and then we'll go with that. So I will kick off. Rupinder, if the first one is said, do you run them online or in person?
Yeah, so the way we've done them, because we started them out during COVID, they've been virtual this whole time. We don't know if we'll change that or it might become a hybrid situation depending on what we decide to do going forward. But I think it being virtual has suited us well, and it's been accessible for a lot of people to be able to kind of join in from wherever they're joining from. So yeah, we've done it virtually, but yeah, we could experiment, see if that changing it works well.
We have heard it's been a bit more inclusive and richer conversation, because again, people can have their camera off. You can even change your name if you wanted to be anonymous in it. So again, it is a bit more and again, some people don't want to be in a room with people having these conversations. So it's just the feedback we've been having, but some do it physically as well. So to say that, if I can ask Lynette, if it's a large organization, would it be appropriate to have more than one facilitator and offer smaller or in-person tea breaks?
If you're a large organisation, I would definitely suggest having more than one facilitator. We're, I'd say, an average-sized organisation, and we tend to have 2 facilitators when we do our tea breaks, just because it makes it easier, and it's not as weighty if it's just one person. These are quite difficult conversations, so you've really got to take that into consideration. So we tend to have 2, and if you can, I would break it down. I would have 2 rather than just one session, because then you run the possibility of some people really wanting to attend but not being able to. Whereas if there are 2 dates that people can choose from, it allows for more people to attend and be part of the conversation and learn and be involved in the changes that you're trying to make.
Oh, fantastic. And Rupinder, who do you think is appropriate to lead on tea breaks?
I guess I would say like members of a network that you have for a particular minoritized group or marginalized group, starting from there would be a really good place. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be someone with purely lived experience of race, but potentially lived experience of other kind of identity characteristics, to kind of be able to share that lens. And I think when you're able to co-chair with other people, you give opportunity to bring others in and kind of share that out. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a particular kind of person, but I would say if you have a drive to and an interest to, and you want to be a part of it, having that chance to do that would be great. Whoever in your organization would like to take part.
Fantastic. Interesting question here, Lynette. Can there be 2 separate tea breaks, one for global majority and one for white colleagues? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, we had this conversation, didn't we? I think initially, for safety reasons, maybe mental health, maybe comfortability, maybe getting used to having these conversations in larger groups with people that aren't necessarily close to you, you could start separately. We felt that if we really wanted to see these changes from the offset, they had to be open to everybody, because one of the reasons why we implemented tea breaks is because if you're not having the conversations cross society, cross, I don't know, income levels, social mobility scales, like if you're not having those conversations with the people that actually don't experience what you experience as a minority member of society, how are you expecting to see those changes? So if you want to start separately, you can, but I would start separately with the view of at some point, you're gonna have to come together to have those conversations. You can't stay siloed, because then no change happens, no learning happens.
I 100% agree. I think there's the risk of the echo chamber, and then also, I think it'll say a lot about an organization. Your culture's not right yet if you can't put everyone together. So I do agree that. But again, it's a conversation you can have with your colleagues to work out. But as I said, Lynette, with it might just be one session. It might be a few months before you get there. But as I said, it's unique for each organization. A couple of last questions. So one is for Rupinder. How do you balance authenticity between the host and topic, and not putting responsibility to educate individuals from certain backgrounds?
Yeah, that's a really good question, a really interesting one. I think when you're wanting to run a tea break and you have a desire to take part in these conversations, I guess your intention behind it is really important. And hopefully, if you have the intention that you need to be able to create a space that is reflective and mindful of other people's experiences, your authenticity will kind of automatically be able to shine through and allow you to have the conversations that are done in kind of an honest, frank way. So I think that kind of happens organically from that. But I also think making sure that when you're having these conversations, if there are lots of questions being put to particular groups of people that are the ones who are suffering from the issue, I think it's important to mention that's the case in a way that feels constructive, and to kind of signpost people and suggest where they can go for more information, or kind of, not to put the burden on particular people, but also giving people kind of pathways to find out more if they want to. And not being there to answer every single question, but also being there to have the conversation.
Brilliant, thank you. And last question for Lynette. Is it okay for someone from C-suite to run a tea break?
I think that falls down to the individual organizations. I think if the ask is authentic and it's coming from an authentic place, and not just, you don't feel like it's a need to be seen to be part of the conversation, I think it's a judgment call, to be completely honest. Yep. I really think it's a judgment call. I think there's a conversation that needs to be had before you agree that happens. And I think if it's depending on who actually holds the tea break, so for NCVO, the Reach Network hold the tea break. So it would be a conversation within the network and with that individual who'd actually asked to host it to kind of figure it out, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's an individual conversation for each organisation that's running it. I don't think there's a set answer for that.
Thank you. And just to wrap up on this, Rupinder touched upon it. You know, this is not for one person or a D&I lead or a race network lead to be running T-Break. It's different organisations, different people might be more appropriate for it. So again, it's what's suitable for your organisation. And I think that there is that thing about having a working group and maybe rotating who again, depending on what subject matter is as well. You might have a different person to be more appropriate to chair, etc. But again, I think Donna talked about is getting a debrief after the event, feedback, what worked, what was good about it. You know, if it's working, C-suite or another, then you learn from that. So thank you for that. And I guess if it's a genuine C-suite leader who is really committed to it and wants to be driving, encourage people to come, then it's positive. But like you said, versus the tick box, I turned up at 2 events a year. So thank you for that. So I think we're coming to an end there. So that's great. I think next slide, please. As I said, we're a not-for-profit. We provide all this for support. So we need to say a big thank you to these organisations, your key partners, Green Park, Lloyds, BT, Auto Trader, Edelman, HS2, Network Rail, and others that co-collaborate with us. A big, huge thank you to our Trailblazers, and I'm going to use the word Trailblazers NCVO, but more important on this occasion, Rupinder and Lynette for sharing their experience with everyone. And we do appreciate them giving their time and great words. So if you're, do sign up on our website if you haven't registered already to Race Equality Matters, because you'll be kept posted and find about future events. And then we'll send you some the links from today's session, the slides and the videos next week, and then also the chat ideas you all shared with each other in a few weeks' time. It'll be called Insights and Ideas. So thank you all for your time. Do keep in touch with us, and yeah, good luck with it. And we're looking forward to. Please do let us know how your tea breaks go. Thank you all.